Welcome to Quiz Time. My name is Anne, and I will be your host for this quiz about the USA. Good luck! The Hollywood Walk of Fame, famous for celebrity stars, has been a popular attraction for decades. Do you know the first star category in 1960? Television, motion pictures, or radio? Motion pictures. In 1969, the US made history with the Apollo 11 moon landing. Also, what was the backup mission's lesser-known code name? Operation Moondust 2, Operation Sunchaser, or Operation Blue Moon? Operation Sunchaser. Elvis Presley recorded his first song at Sun Studio in Memphis. What was his primary reason for entering the studio that day? To audition for a band, to work as a session musician, or to record a gift for his mother? To record a gift for his mother. The Great Depression marked a milestone in American history. What item symbolized economic hardship by being used as makeshift footwear? Cardboard, newspaper, or burlap sacks? Burlap sacks. In the 1950s, America saw the rise of suburbs. What unexpected rule did these early suburbs enforce that shaped community life? A ban on fences, only one car per household, no homes could be painted blue. A ban on fences. Despite many groundbreaking aspects, what surprising reason made Lucille Ball hesitant about the I Love Lucy role? She feared TV would ruin her film career, she disliked the character's hairstyle, or she didn't want to work with her husband. She feared TV would ruin her film career. Jazz music shaped American culture in the early 20th century, but which city earned the title birthplace of jazz? New York City, Chicago, or New Orleans? New Orleans. The phrase "the Big Apple" is synonymous with New York City, but in the early 1900s, what did it really refer to before the city adopted it? A famous local bakery, a popular horse racing track, or a thriving apple orchard? A popular horse racing track. In the 1960s, which American company's product unexpectedly became a symbol of rebellion amongst the youth? Levi's with their blue jeans, Coca-Cola with its glass bottles, or Harley-Davidson with their motorcycles? Levi's with their blue jeans. The Star-Spangled Banner was inspired by which historical event, a lesser-known battle that prompted Francis Scott Key to write it? The Battle of Bunker Hill, the Battle of Fort McHenry, or the Battle of New Orleans? The Battle of Fort McHenry. In the late 1800s, the Statue of Liberty was gifted to the US from France, but what surprising initial plan was proposed for its final location? New York Harbor, San Francisco Bay, or Boston Harbor? San Francisco Bay. The 1950s saw the rise of the fast food industry in the US. Which unexpected item was first introduced as a revolutionary fast food menu item? The milkshake, the chicken nugget, or the drive-thru? The drive-thru. What unexpected role did the Green Book play in the pivotal civil rights movement era? It was a guide to safe travel, it listed civil rights leaders, or it was a code book for activists? It was a guide to safe travel. Mount Rushmore showcases 4 US presidents, but what lesser-known construction fact may surprise you? It was nearly abandoned due to funding issues, it was supposed to include their entire bodies, it was originally intended to feature only 2 presidents. It was supposed to include their entire bodies. The American flag has undergone several changes since its inception, but do you know which state's admission led to the most stars being added at once? Hawaii, Arizona, or Alaska? Alaska. The famous Hollywood sign originally had a different name when erected in 1923. What was the full, original name? Hollywoodland, Hollywood Hills, or Hollywood? Hollywoodland. In the 1960s, American TV introduced color programming. Which show was the first to air entirely in color, revolutionizing home entertainment? The Flintstones, The Jetsons, or Bonanza? Bonanza. Which surprising character was the first balloon in the 1927 Macy's Thanksgiving Parade? Felix the Cat, Mickey Mouse, or Superman? Felix the Cat. In the 1950s, America's obsession with outer space began. What lesser-known competition was ignited by the US-Soviet space race? The Space Capsule Challenge, the Space Food Contest, or the Satellite Design Contest? The Space Food Contest. The American Civil War ended in 1865, but which unexpected events nearly extended the conflict to another year? An unratified peace treaty, the discovery of gold in the South, or a missed communication about the surrender? A missed communication about the surrender. New York City is often called the city that never sleeps, but what was the original industry that gave it this reputation in the early 1900s? The stock exchange, the textile mills, or the newspaper industry? The newspaper industry. In the 1970s, the Watergate scandal shook American politics. Which lesser-known individual's actions caused its unraveling? A secretary who misfiled documents, a journalist with an anonymous source, or a night watchman who noticed a taped door? A night watchman who noticed a taped door. The US interstate system, a massive network of highways, was inspired by the system in another country. Which country's roadways provided the blueprint? Germany, France, or Canada? Germany. Baseball is often called America's pastime, but what surprising event in 1903 almost led to the sport being banned nationwide? An on-field riot during a game, a betting scandal involving players, or the death of a player from a pitched ball? The death of a player from a pitched ball. Levittown was the first mass-produced suburb in the US. What surprising rule did homeowners must agree to when buying a house? No two homes could be painted the same color, lawns had to be mowed twice a week, or no residents could sell their home within the first year. No two homes could be painted the same color. In the 1980s, America experienced a fitness boom led by aerobics. What overlooked fact about aerobics' origin is surprising? It was initially developed for astronauts. It was first practiced in military training, or it began as a weight loss method for heart patients. It was initially developed for astronauts. What surprising problem was discovered during the Golden Gate Bridge's construction in San Francisco? The paint used was toxic, the bridge's cables were too short, the base currents were stronger than expected. The base currents were stronger than expected. The Great Chicago Fire of 1871 is a well-known disaster, but what surprising item was blamed for starting the fire? A cow kicking over a lantern, a faulty gas lamp, or lightning strike? A cow kicking over a lantern. In 1964, the Beatles appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show. What unexpected reason nearly cancelled their performance? A last-minute visa issue, a disagreement over the set list, or a scheduling conflict with another band? The last-minute visa issue. The US Capitol building in Washington, D.C. is a symbol of American democracy, but what surprising feature of its design was intended to prevent fires, its marble floors, its cast-iron dome, or its underground water systems? Its cast-iron dome. What surprising act of defiance by a student helped integrate Southern schools during the American Civil Rights Movement, refusing to leave the segregated lunch counter, sitting at the front of a bus, or walking into a whites-only school? Walking into a whites-only school. The famous Yankee Doodle song is a patriotic tune, but what surprising origin did it have before becoming a symbol of American pride? The French folk song, a British nursery rhyme, or a satire mocking American soldiers? The satire mocking American soldiers. The first Thanksgiving in 1621 is a key event in American history, but what unexpected main dish was likely absent from the feast? Turkey, pumpkin pie, or cranberry sauce? Turkey. In the 1970s, the US experienced a major energy crisis, but what surprising law was passed to help conserve energy nationwide? Banning of Christmas lights, the national speed limit, or moratorium on new car production? The national speed limit of 55 miles per hour. The Empire State Building is one of the most iconic skyscrapers in the US, but what surprising use was it originally intended for? A massive radio tower, a landing dock for airships, a giant advertisement billboard? A landing dock for airships. The 1960s saw the rise of American counterculture, but which surprising event in California became the defining moment of this movement? The Monterey Pop Festival, the Woodstock Festival, or the Summer of Love in San Francisco? The Summer of Love in San Francisco. The American Revolutionary War was a pivotal moment in US history. What surprising factor helped the colonies defeat the British? The harsh winter weather, French naval support, or British political instability? French naval support. The famous sitcom Cheers was set in a Boston bar, but what surprising fact about the show's setting is often overlooked? It was originally set in New York City, the bar was based on a real location, the interior was inspired by an English pub. The bar was based on a real location. What surprising fact about the design of the current US dollar bill might you not know? The eagle originally faced the other direction, the color green was chosen for its durability, while the reverse side was designed by a teenager. The eagle originally faced the other direction. The American Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776, but what surprising detail about its signing is often forgotten? The original draft was lost for 50 years. It was written on hemp paper. Not all signers were present on July 4th. Not all signers were present on July 4th. The 1969 moon landing was a monumental achievement for the US, but what surprising object was left on the lunar surface? The golden olive branch, a plaque with a message of peace, or a piece of the Wright brothers' plane? A piece of the Wright brothers' plane. During World War II, factories made war materials, yet what item symbolized the American resilience? The ration book, the Victory Garden, or the Rosie the Riveter poster? The Victory Garden. The Grand Canyon is one of America's most famous natural landmarks, but what surprising events led to it becoming a national park? The discovery of ancient artifacts, a presidential visit, or a public campaign by early environmentalists? A presidential visit by Teddy Roosevelt. The American jazz era of the 1920s introduced new sounds, but what surprising influence shaped the jazz music we know today? African drum beats, French classical music, or Caribbean rhythms, African drum beats. In the 1930s, the Dust Bowl devastated American agriculture, but what surprising factor contributed to the severity of this environmental disaster? Overfarming of the land, the removal of native grasses, or the construction of railroads? The removal of native grasses. Although the Statue of Liberty is a representation of freedom, what unexpected aspect of its design goes unnoticed most of the time? The torch was once a lighthouse. It was originally intended for Egypt, but the statue's color changed over time. The statue's color changed over time. The American food industry has seen many innovations, but what surprising origin led to the creation of the popular TV dinner? A surplus of frozen turkeys, the invention of microwave ovens, or a marketing campaign for working mothers? A surplus of frozen turkeys. The 1940s saw the rise of the big band era in American music, but what surprising factor led to its decline in popularity? The rise of television, World War II military drafts, or the introduction of rock and roll? The rise of television. The American labor movement fought for workers' rights, but what surprising events sparked the first major labor strike in U.S. history? The railroad worker wage cut, unsafe working conditions in coal mines, or the imprisonment of a union leader? A railroad worker wage cut. The American space program made history with its Apollo missions, but what surprising challenge nearly cancelled Apollo 11? An oxygen tank explosion on board, a computer malfunction during launch, or a communication failure with mission control? A computer malfunction during launch. The famous Route 66 is a symbol of American road trips, but what surprising fact about its construction is often overlooked? It was built to connect military bases, it was originally designed as a toll road, or it followed ancient Native American trails? It followed ancient Native American trails. The U.S. Constitution is the cornerstone of American democracy, but what surprising proposal was almost included in the original document? The national religion, the abolition of slavery, or the right to bear arms for women? The abolition of slavery. The American West was molded by the gold rush, but what unexpected circumstance resulted in the initial finding of gold in California? A worker building a sawmill, a child playing near a river, or an earthquake revealing gold deposits? A worker building a sawmill. During the Civil War, what surprising tactic did General Sherman use in his famous march through the South, burning crops and railroads, releasing enslaved people to join the Union Army, or spreading false information to confuse the enemy? Burning crops and railroads. Mount Rushmore depicts 4 U.S. presidents. However, what was the original surprising plan for the monument? It was supposed to feature Native American leaders. The presidents were to be shown from head to waist, but it was intended to be a tribute to Western expansion. It was supposed to feature Native American leaders. The American Prohibition era led to the rise of speakeasies, but what surprising method did people use to hide alcohol during this time? Concealed flasks in canes, hollowed out loaves of bread, or fake books with hidden compartments? Concealed flasks in canes. Many US symbols exist, but what is the surprising story behind the anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner? It was inspired by a Revolutionary War battle, it was written by a prisoner of war, or it was originally a poem set to a popular British tune? It was originally a poem set to a popular British tune. What major sporting event, first held in 1960, became the largest multi-sport events ever staged in history? The apple, the penny, or the radio? The apple, as it was sold on street corners. The American Revolutionary War was full of challenges, but what event convinced France to support the American colonies? A plea from Benjamin Franklin, The victory at the Battle of Saratoga, or the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The victory at the Battle of Saratoga. The American pastime of baseball has many legends, but what surprising fact about Babe Ruth's career is often forgotten. He began as a pitcher, he played for 3 different teams, he once hit a home run with a borrowed bat. He began as a pitcher. Why did Hollywood become the hub of the movie industry despite global competition? The area's reliable sunshine for filming, the proximity to major train routes, or the low cost of land at the time. The area's reliable sunshine for filming. What surprising reason prompted the 18th Amendment creating prohibition within the US Constitution? Pressure from women's temperance groups, a desire to reduce crime in cities, or concerns about alcohol's effect on soldiers? Pressure from women's temperance groups. What surprising fact about the creation of Mount Rushmore is often overlooked in the 20th century American art scene? It was never fully completed. The original artist was fired mid-project. It was initially funded by private donations. It was never fully completed. In the 1940s, the American jazz scene flourished with great musicians. How did the US government support jazz during World War II? They funded tours of jazz bands to boost morale, they banned certain jazz records for being too upbeat, they used jazz in propaganda films overseas. They funded tours of jazz bands to boost morale. The famous American highway Route 66 is iconic, but what surprising fact about its endpoint might you not know? It originally ended in Santa Monica. It ends at a ghost town in California. It was extended to the Pacific Ocean in later years. It originally ended in Santa Monica. As a representation of liberty, the Statue of Liberty is known for its torch, but did you know this unexpected fact? It's made of solid gold. It originally served as a lighthouse. It was replaced in 1986 due to weather damage. It was replaced in 1986 due to weather damage. What surprising event during the Apollo 12 mission almost resulted in its failure? The spacecraft was struck by lightning, a computer error during re-entry, or a sudden leak in the fuel tank almost left the astronauts stranded in space. The spacecraft was struck by lightning. The famous American poet Walt Whitman wrote many works, but what surprising job did he hold during the Civil War? A nurse in military hospitals, an advisor to President Lincoln, or a war correspondent for a New York newspaper? A nurse in military hospitals. The American Revolution had many turning points, but what surprising event led to the British surrender at Yorktown? A French naval blockade, a surprise attack by American forces, or a severe shortage of British supplies? A French naval blockade. The US Constitution was a groundbreaking document, but what surprising proposal was almost included in the Bill of Rights? A ban on standing armies, the Great Leap Forward, or a prohibition on monopolies? A ban on standing armies. The iconic White House has a rich history. What surprising fact about its construction might you not know? It was built using slave labor. It originally had a thatched roof. The British burned it down during the War of 1812. It was built using slave labor. The Wild West is known for its tales, but what unknown fact about the OK Corral's gunfight surprises? It lasted less than 30 seconds, the participants were friends, or it didn't take place at the OK Corral. It lasted less than 30 seconds. What surprising aid did a Native American woman provide Lewis and Clark during the expedition? She provided them with horses, she served as a guide and translator, or she showed them how to find edible plants. She served as a guide and translator. During World War II, how did Hollywood contribute beyond its iconic movies? It was a major center for military training. It produced propaganda films for the US government, where it helped design camouflage patterns for tanks. It produced propaganda films for the US government. Thanksgiving has traditions, but what surprising fact about the first Thanksgiving might you not know? It lasted 3 days. The Pilgrims did not eat turkey, but it was originally celebrated in October. It lasted 3 days. What unexpected part did students play in the American Civil Rights Movement's success? They organized the first sitting out of segregated lunch counter, they marched on Washington before Dr. King's famous speech, or they desegregated schools in the South. They organized the first sitting out of segregated lunch counter. What surprising event led to the Soviet Union's early lead in the American space race? They launched the first artificial satellite, they sent the first human to space, but they secretly collaborated with Nazi scientists. They launched the first artificial satellite. Norman Rockwell created iconic images. What surprising fact about his work is not commonly known? He was never formally trained, he often used neighbors as models, or he painted a portrait of every US president. He often used neighbors as models. What surprising event secured the Continental Army's victory at the Battle of Trenton in the American Revolutionary War? A surprise attack on Christmas night, the arrival of French reinforcements, or a severe winter storm that weakened the British forces? A surprise attack on Christmas night. The US Constitution is a living document. What surprising reason led to the passage of the 22nd Amendment limiting presidential terms? A fear of presidential overreach, Roosevelt's 4 terms in office, or pressure from Congress after World War II? Roosevelt's 4 terms in office. The American Civil War was a time of great innovation, but what surprising inventions were first used during this conflict? The submarine, the machine gun, the hot air balloon for reconnaissance. The submarine. The US Constitution is dynamic. What prompted this 22nd Amendment to restrict presidential terms? The discovery of gold at Sutter's Mill, the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad, or the Homestead Act offered free land? The discovery of gold at Sutter's Mill. What event spurred the creation of the Jeep during World War II? A request from General Patton, competition among car manufacturers, the need for a lightweight, all-terrain vehicle. Competition among car manufacturers. The American economy has seen many ups and downs, but what surprising factor led to the economic boom of the 1950s? A rise in consumer spending, the end of wartime rationing, or the GI Bill provides education and housing loans? The GI Bill provides education and housing loans. Before becoming a writer, what surprising job did Mark Twain, the famous American novelist, hold? A newspaper editor in Nevada, a gold prospector in California, or a steamboat pilot on the Mississippi River? A steamboat pilot on the Mississippi River. Did you know a surprising fact about George Washington's inauguration among American government traditions? It was delayed because he forgot to bring a Bible. The Federal Hall balcony served as the setting for his oath of office. He added the phrase "So help me God" to the oath. The Federal Hall balcony served as the setting for his oath of office. The American labor movement fought for workers' rights, but what factor helped the first major labor strike succeed? The involvement of women and children, the use of telegraphs to organize nationwide, or support from sympathetic business owners? The use of telegraphs to organize nationwide. In the early 20th century, what surprising events made the hamburger popular in America's food industry? The rise of fast food chains, the shortage of chicken during World War I, or the invention of the drive-in restaurant? the invention of the drive-in restaurant. Daniel Boone, the famous American explorer, is known for his adventures, a surprising fact you might not know. He served as a member of the Virginia General Assembly. He never actually wore a coonskin cap. He was captured by Native Americans and adopted into their tribe. He never actually wore a coonskin cap. The American diners are a cultural staple, but what spurred their rapid expansion in the 1920s? The end of World War I, the development of the automobile, a government campaign promoting local businesses. The development of the automobile. American football is a beloved sport, but what surprising change in the 1920s helped it gain popularity? The reduction in game length, the legalization of forward passes, or the introduction of college football leagues. The legalization of forward passes. Route 66 is a famous American highway, but what surprising role did it play during the Great Depression? It was used as a major trade route, it became a migration route for displaced farmers, it was a popular location for speakeasies. It became a migration route for displaced farmers. The American South is known for its barbecue, but what surprising historical event shaped this cooking tradition? The arrival of Caribbean slaves, the influence of Spanish settlers, the Civil War's impact on meat availability. The arrival of Caribbean slaves. The Great Chicago Fire of 1871 is a famous disaster, but what surprising aspect about its cause remains a mystery. The origin is still debated. It was possibly started by a meteor. The suspected cow wasn't even in Chicago. The origin is still debated. The American Civil Rights Movement saw a protest. What triggered the Montgomery bus boycott? A legal ruling in favor of segregation, the seamstress's refusal to give up her seat, a bus driver's insult towards a black passenger. The seamstress's refusal to give up her seat. The Grand Canyon is a natural wonder, but what surprising discovery did early explorers make? A massive cave system, fossils of sea creatures, ancient Native American dwellings. Fossils of sea creatures. The American Revolutionary War had many key moments, but what unexpected factor led to the turning point at Saratoga? The arrival of French allies, an unseasonal snowstorm, or miscommunication among British forces? A miscommunication among British forces. The American flag is a powerful symbol, but what surprising detail about its original design is little known. The stars were initially six-pointed. It had 13 stars arranged in a circle. It features a Union Jack in the corner. The stars were initially six-pointed. Hollywood is the heart of the American film industry, but what surprising location was originally considered for the movie capital? New York City, Chicago, or Atlanta? New York City. The Erie Canal was a major American engineering feat, but what unexpected benefit did it bring to New York City? It led to the rise of Wall Street, it sparked the growth of Broadway, it made NYC the busiest port in America. It made NYC the busiest port in America. Thank you for playing. Drop your score in the comments, and please like and subscribe if you want to be notified every time we post a new video and have more fun on quiz time.